Hey, Pond family, welcome to something different today. I'm going to do a podcast, but I'm going to do this live on Facebook. The reason why I'm going to do this live on Facebook is because this is such an important topic to talk about today. And I have one of the best speakers on the topic, which is Rafi from Accessory. Before that, let me know that you're here. Drop a comment in the comment section. We're going to do the podcast like if I would do it live. And that way you guys can answer questions or ask questions. We can answer them. And this is such an important topic today because I've already had about 2 or 3 pawnbrokers call me that they've already gotten sued because of their website. So I'm going to bring to the stage Rafi Glantz from Accessory. Rafi, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, Yigal. Nice to be here.
So this is probably the first time I've done a live podcast here in the group, but I knew that bringing you on was crucial to stop this ridiculousness of people kind of getting extorted, right? From their website. So first of all, let people know who you are, the company that you work for, and what you guys do.
So very nice to be here. I'm Rafi. I am 27. I have had a whole bunch of jobs, but the one that matters now is I do partnerships at Accessory. And Accessory was created a few years ago because in Israel, where we're based, a web accessibility law came out that required every website to be accessible to people with disabilities. Problem is that wasn't so simple a thing to do. If you don't have a tool like ours, which is fully automated and very affordable and does everything real quick, it can take you months to get your website accessible, and more concerning, it can take like 50 grand. And most small businesses don't have that. Look, if you're Amazon, great. You can assign like 10 developers to work on your website, no problem, because you got them. But if you have a small business, there is no way that you can afford even 10,000, let alone 50,000 for your website. You know, most small businesses pay like $100 a month, $200 a month for their entire online presence. So we realized that web accessibility cannot possibly be widespread until it's simple, affordable, and fully automated. And that's what we did. Our service costs less than $50 a month. We make any website accessible in 48 hours or less, and it's a fully set it and forget it solution. Did I cover everything there?
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about what accessibility is and why it's so important, right? You talked about in Israel, a law came out. I know that in the United States, we have a law that came out as well, where all websites, all of them have to be ADA compliant and accessible to people with maybe somebody who's blind, maybe somebody who's deaf. Kind of give us a rundown as to what accessibility means, because I think some people think about it like as a ramp to come into your store or a button to push at the door so somebody can help you out. What does web accessibility actually mean?
So what you said there is actually a really great point. You can think of it like a ramp for your website, that you need to have a handicap parking space. You need to have an accessible restroom. You need to have a ramp. On your website, there are people who are blind. There are people who are also severely dyslexic who need to use a screen reader, a technology that actually reads out what's on the screen because they can't see it. There's also people who may have epilepsy or a seizure-related disorder who, if you have flashing lights or animations on your website, those can physically harm them. There are people who have motor impairments who may need to use a click stick or other assistive tech to use your website. You need to make sure that your website is built to work with all of these different technologies and that it's able to be customized for people who may be colorblind, who may have a cognitive impairment, who may speak English as a second language for that matter, although of course that's not a disability. In 2018, the Department of Justice actually released a ruling stating that all business websites must be accessible, but their standard is reasonable effort. So that left a lot of ambiguity in the market. Luckily, not so luckily, there have been thousands upon thousands of lawsuits, but luckily the settlements in all of those lawsuits state that the WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, are the standard for accessibility, and they're the only internationally recognized standard for accessibility. So that's what we comply with. And I don't want to go into too much detail there because it's literally a 1,000-page guidebook of stuff about accessibility. Oh yeah, it never ends. But the thing to take away is that accessibility is never going to be a perfect 100% fix for all the time. It's an ongoing effort to make yourself as accessible and compliant as possible. And one of the things that we do that kind of sets us apart is that we'll scan your website once every 24 hours or every update, whichever happens first. And a lot of pawn websites I know add items regularly. So you may update more than once a day. So anytime you update, we're going to update the accessibility for you to make sure that you stay in compliance.
Gotcha. So let's talk about that. I know that a couple of pawnbrokers have already received letters saying that their website is not ADA compliant, that they're being sued essentially. They're not being given time to fix the problem. Obviously, back in the day, we saw this with the guy in the wheelchair who would roll up to a store. He couldn't come in, send a letter, and people would settle for $5,000 or $10,000. Right? They get a letter saying your store isn't compliant. We want $25K, and then there would be a settlement in the background. And they made tons of money. And so all of a sudden, pawn shops, retail locations had to start fixing their locations to be able to be ADA compliant. Now, what are we seeing when it comes to like these attorneys who are out there finding websites? What are they doing? What is it causing? Tell me kind of the stress that the business owner is going through once they get hit with a non-compliant letter from one of these attorneys.
I think I have the perfect example for you because this actually happened to me. And I have to say it actually happened to me because it sounds so absurd, and I'm picking which obscenity to use there. So the last time I left my zip code with this wonderful Corona fun time we're all living through was last February. I was in Vegas giving a talk about accessibility, and incidentally stopped by the Pawn Stars location there just because I love the show, but not really relevant. Anyways, I was giving a presentation. I get interrupted halfway through, and this guy says he owns 60 locations of a payday loan company, and each one has its own website. He got a demand letter for $10,000 for one website. So he calls his lawyer. The lawyer explains to him it's what's known as a strict liability law. So because he was sued and he wasn't accessible, he's already liable. The guy said, look, I can take it to court for you and you'll pay me 150 grand over 2 years in legal fees and we'll still lose. Or you can pay them the 10 grand and hope they go away. So the guy says, okay, fine, writes a check and starts looking into web accessibility. Unfortunately, the day the check cleared, he got 59 more letters and had to settle for $600,000.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Unfortunately, no. But fortunately for me, everybody started taking pictures of my presentation at that point. So, you know, mixed bag. But this is a perfect example of what happens. In general, these attorneys are looking for settlements. They're not looking for anything else. And because of that, it gives you an opportunity to defend yourself very easily. If you can show that you're not just going to roll over and pay a settlement and that you can prove accessibility, they just move on to the next victim. It's a deeply unscrupulous way to operate, but it is the way they operate. We actually offer a litigation support package as part of every license that we sell. It's at no additional cost. We've done it literally 5,000 times in the last year, and we've never had a client successfully sued after installing the tool. Because having Accessory on your website is a lot like having the ADT flag on your lawn. You know, it's going to deter 99% of the people who want to mess with you. And the very few people who get through, well, they're a little crazy and we'll set them straight.
So tell me kind of like obviously this was built by very, very smart people. I wouldn't even start to imagine for you to explain it. But what does it do when you get, and if you go to pawnada.com, by the way, if you're watching or listening to this, we have a partner package with Accessory for the pawn industry. What does the software do in the back end?
So one of the beauties of it is that we don't ever change your website permanently, because like you've already spent a lot of time and money optimizing your website for SEO, for design, for sales stuff. We don't want to mess with that. What we do is we provide you with this tiny little widget. It's a little button on the screen, and whoever opens it will be able to make all the adjustments that they need to make their experience accessible without impacting anybody else's experience. And that runs from screen reader adjustments, where we'll actually have alt descriptions for all of your images. If you don't already have them, we'll rearrange the tab order so that somebody who's navigating only with the keyboard can navigate in a way that makes sense. We can turn off any animations automatically. You can customize colors for people who may be colorblind. You can change font sizes. I'm a little high energy. I really like the ADHD adjustments. It creates this like reading mask and lets you hide all the images. But I mean, it can be as simple as making the cursor a little bit larger. One of the things that I try to focus on as much as I can is that this is not just something for people with disabilities. As the owner of a failed e-commerce store, I can tell you that if you want to sell stuff online, you have to make it as easy as humanly possible for people to buy stuff from you. And Accessory helps with that because, like my grandmother, for instance, loved online shopping before she passed away. And if she'd had Accessory on the website she was using, my inheritance would have been even smaller. Like she, her eyesight's going a little bit. She's a little confused, but she wouldn't have considered herself to have a disability. But if she was able to make the fonts a little bit bigger and, have descriptions of certain words, that might make the difference between a purchase and a bounce.
By the way, for those of you who are watching live, go ahead and if you guys have any questions, post them in the comments below. I'll get Rafi to answer them live here on this live podcast. Rafi, so the law has passed. Your website must be ADA compliant. You're looking at Accessory. There's other products out there. A friend of mine sent me a message saying, "Hey, I bought something for $100. I could just put it on my website and I'm done." What's the difference between a one-time fee plugin and Accessory?
There's a lot. So number one, I'll tell you what my dad told me is you get what you pay for. If it's real cheap and it's just a one-time thing, it's probably not going to solve your whole problem. But in general, Accessory is a really, really diverse group of things that you get. It's not just the tool. It's the ongoing scanning from the tool that we check it every single day or every update to make sure that it stays accessible. It's the service that you get along with it. We have a really strong support team. We have that litigation support that I mentioned. All of these things that you really can't get anywhere else. On top of that, I will add that most of these plugins, and again, I don't know the specific one we're talking about, but most of them will have some of the front side stuff that we do. Like you'll be able to change fonts, you'll be able to change colors, but I'm no developer. I failed a CSS course, so don't ask me the technical stuff, but that stuff is relatively simple for tech people. The really complicated stuff is on the backside, and that's everything from providing alternative text for images, image descriptions, which we actually do with AI. And to describe it simply, rather than having a developer go through every picture on your website and describe it for somebody who's blind, we just taught a robot to do it. And the robot doesn't eat, it doesn't sleep, you don't have to pay it. And until Terminator happens, it's not going to get angry at us. So we have built a very, very robust system. And also, I'll tell you, we work on almost 200,000 websites today. Some of those are mom and pops. Some of those are Abbott Health and other Fortune 500 companies like Oreo uses us. I didn't get any free cookies, but Oreo uses us.
We gotta change that. We have to change that.
Man, do you want to know something? There's no double stuffed Oreos in Israel. I'm like really upset about this. Sorry, that's off topic, but
I'll send you a package. I'll DHL it to you.
You're my favorite. It's worth doing this podcast. All right.
But amazing. So obviously you guys have AI behind it, and this is law. Like I want the people who are watching or listening, like this is law. You cannot hide behind this. Don't stick your head in the sand. If you get caught like the two pawnbrokers who, it's stress. Like he's like, I just received a letter for $25K. I don't know what to do. I've talked to so many people, and I sent them your way.
Yeah.
This is before we kind of got into contact. But, for whatever, I think it's $49 for up to like 1,000 pages or something like that at the moment with Accessory. Pawnbrokers, don't be cheap. Don't be frugal. We are known for being cheap, but it's going to it's going to bite you in the butt at some point, and you're just going to stress out about it.
And I'll add on to that because it's a really strong point that you're not going to see it coming. Excuse me. We had these things go in waves because the lawyers who are coming after people, they are sending out lawsuits in a spray and pray fashion. They find an industry, they go after it. We had last month, literally 500 different acupuncturists from the same area of Southern California signed up with us. Now, we didn't contact them. None of them spoke to a salesperson, nothing. We just saw them all buy licenses and we're like, what's going on? So we asked a few of them. They were all sued by the same person. So, and this can happen all in the space of a week. So it could go from 2 or 3 pawnbrokers calling you to 200 or 300 in a couple of weeks. And again, look, I'm not trying to scare anybody. And I'll say again, this is something that you should do for a variety of reasons. It is the law and there is no choice, but also less than 2% of websites in the world are accessible right now. So being one of the first movers is a major advantage. And 26% of American adults, according to the CDC, live with a disability. It's not a small amount of people. So the amount of disposable income in that community in the US every year, $490 billion.
Wow.
Not a small number. So definitely a population to target. And I'll add one last thing onto that because I just can't stop with this stuff. We had a recent event for Global Accessibility Awareness Day in the office, and we brought in a bunch of people with different disabilities. One of the blind individuals we brought in was wearing a watch. And I got into watches recently. I know a lot of pawn folks are into watches, Rolex all day, but one of my colleagues asked her, why are you wearing a watch? Like, how can you tell what time it is? So she opened it up like a Nautilus. It opens up and you can actually feel what time it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if you look this up, they're called Braille watches. I actually ordered an old Russian one, the old Vostok USSR ones, and they're fascinating pieces. So what she mentioned to us is that when a blind person finds a website that works well for them, they don't just come back, because they'll definitely be a repeat customer. Because again, it's so hard to find one that works for them. Not only are they going to be a repeat customer, there's a lot of Facebook groups, there's a lot of WhatsApp groups with people with disabilities. And they'll put up a post in those groups saying, hey, if you need a pawnbroker, this is where you go, because they cater to us and they care about us.
Amazing.
And people really appreciate that.
That's incredible. I also want to go back to what you said about the acupuncturist. We've already had some big hits in the pawn industry. And if these lawyers are thinking, well, pawn has no idea about ADA, why don't we go after it? I think that the pawn industry is going to, be in some trouble. So we put up the website. It's pawnada.com. That's a link to the Accessory link where you can go in. And I think you guys give like a 7-day trial, sign up for the trial, check it out, see what it does. $49. Just, I'm bringing the attention because the amount of stress on the phone call from this pawnbroker was immeasurable as compared to $49 a month. Right. And if you think that you don't, and pawnbrokers are very, very infamous for thinking that they don't need something until they get smacked in the face with it. Right. Until the whole industry is like, oh my God, we should have done this. I'm letting you guys know right now, this is the next step. This is what you need to do so you can go to sleep at night, put your head on the pillow, not worry about getting a lawsuit, because losing $5,000-$10,000, it's going to hurt. And I don't want that to happen to you guys. So Rafi, any last words from you when it comes to accessibility or accessibility?
Yeah, I think here you go. Being accessible is not just something that you should do because it's the law. It's something that you should do because it improves the experience of everybody who visits your website, and it makes you look better as a brand and as an individual. And also, pretty much everybody knows somebody with a disability. You probably, if you look back through the people that you know and your family and everybody, even if they don't have a permanent one, they probably have had a temporary disability at some point. Think about those people and do it for them.
Love it. Rafi, thank you so much for being on the show, brother. For those of you who are watching or listening to the podcast, don't forget to join us at Pawn Connect and stay tuned for the next show. Rafi, thank you so much. And don't forget to go to Pawn ADA. Just read, sign up for the 7-day trial, and make sure that you're compliant so that you don't get hit with one of these lawsuits. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and love you all. And till next time.